Hello, everybody. Hope y'all are doing fine. This is Kyle Speed One coming to you from the racetrack. Yeah. Today's special guest, or I should say full-time property. I'm being silly today. Is, and some of you may recognize it. It's a good looking car. I like the orange and the yellow. I like the orange. The orange and yellow. The green and yellow. I need to get a new prescription. I am being thoroughly goofy today. Anyway, this is a Revo Slot Opel Kadet, or Opel Kadet GT/E. 21,000 RPM motor, 12 volts. I've already done the mods with putting the tape over the chassis to help keep the chatter down a little bit. And I've adjusted everything to where it's got float and all that good stuff. Oil and greased it. And I've already run it in for about an hour. And I thought I'd show you this little jewel, which will go with the Revo Slot Datsun 510 that I've got. Woo! She running fast. Got that, she's still new. It is a new car. First owner. And it does have that telltale angle winder whine to it. It is an angle winder motor setup. Good looking car. Okay. Whoa, stopped it just in time. So, I don't remember what year model this is. I guess I could look it up, but funny story. I'm full of funny stories and calling colors of the wrong color, amongst a lot of other things. But my dad, I think I was in, it must have been like 3rd or 4th grade. And my dad bought a new car. Well, it wasn't a new car. It was a used car from, I guess, one of his teacher buddies. My dad taught at MacArthur High School in Irving at that time. And we lived behind a little elementary school. And my back fence was one of those chain link fences, actually faced the playground of the school. And when I say playground, it was big enough to do football, baseball, or anything of the sort, track meets. And anyway, he brought home I remember it distinctly. Now, no way resembled, especially the front end with that air dam on it. But the back certainly brings back, and the profile of the car brings back memories of what he brought home. And it was an Opel Mantra or an Opel Kadet. It looked just like that car. It was dark blue. I remember that. It had a black interior, and I think it was a little 4-speed. Okay? But the funny thing about it is, now remember, I'm like in 3rd or 4th grade. And even back then, I did play football. Pee-wee football. And so I was a pretty strong kid even at that age. But the thing about this Opel that Dad had was it had some bad spots on the starter ring. Okay? And so if you killed the motor, when you turned the engine off, you didn't know what you was going to have. It might start right back up on a good patch of teeth, or it would just sit there and bang, 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 and you'd hear the starter whir and kind of grinding a little bit. Okay? So, excuse me. Some mornings, of course, like I said, we lived right behind the little elementary school. But in the mornings, I would go outside to say bye to my pop, and he'd get in this little car, and some of my little neighborhood friends would be out front too. All I had to do was jump the back fence. We even had a gate. Didn't even have to jump the fence. We had a swinging gate that I could just walk across that field and walk right up to the school. But anyway, on some occasions, and I remember this distinctly, that starter wouldn't engage the ring gear. Okay? And you'd see his head pop up and look around, and he's turning red because he's embarrassed. And what would happen is us neighborhood kids got the idea, well, we'll help you push the car. So it'd be about 4 or 5 of us out there stacked up on the back end of the car, ready to push my pop. And it really didn't take a whole heck of a lot. We just got it going, the best we could with our little bodies. And sometimes he'd even run along the car on the outside of it with the door open and a hand on the steering wheel and the car being in neutral. And he'd jump in. He'd holler at us, "Okay, I got it." And he'd jump in the car, and the car would bounce up and down. And he'd push that clutch in, and the door's still open. And he'd put it in a higher gear and pop that clutch, and that car would start right up every time. But the thing of it is it did have a bad spot on the ring gear. Now, I was a mechanic, and I guess I always will be, but I was a mechanic professionally for 39 years. I've got all kinds of certifications and credentials, and I even have worked on electric transit buses, all electric transit buses. And you're talking about high voltage. You're talking about like 600 to 800 volt systems on those buses, okay? So, yeah, and my job was I rebuilt engines. And the one thing I couldn't get into people's heads is if your battery is about to give up the ghost through all those starts, through running your radio with the ignition on but the motor's off, and just wearing out, especially during the summer, especially here in Texas. You're wearing that battery down, and when that battery starts, or you have other problems, other issues, low voltage, and when you try to go turn that key and engage that starter, you are messing up, because basically what you're doing is you're banging that gear on that Bendix up against that flywheel gear, the ring gear on the flywheel, and you're starting to shave off metal when you do that, when the battery has low voltage to it. And if you do that enough times, you will mess up that starter ring. Now, the crux of it is, if it's a standard shift car, i.e. it has a clutch, you can do what my dad did. Get somebody to push you, or you run along with the door open, staring it, and run along the car trying to get it to go fast enough for you to slip it into a higher gear and then dump the clutch. But if you're in an automatic, yeah, you're not going anywhere unless you can get somebody to give you a jump. So what I normally tell people, and what I do religiously, is every 3 years I replace the battery in the car, whether it needs it or not. That way, I never ever have a problem. Parts wear out. That happens. But I've not had a problem with my battery or my charging system, because that's the other part of it is, if your battery is always in a low state and your alternator or generator is having to build the energy back up into the battery all the time, you are putting extra wear and tear on your alternator or your generator. Okay? So, enough of the lecturing. Childhood memory. I guess you could call it a fond memory. It was funny. But this is the new Revo Slot Kadet GT/E. Yeah, good looking little car. And it's a rally car, I guess, yeah. And he's got the guy with the driving instructions in there. No, I said turn left. You turned right. I said turn left. But anyway, that's a special breed that does rally cars. They are crazier than people who duck hunt. And I used to duck hunt, freezing my butt off. But anyway, that's what I got for you today. Got a little long-winded, but I thought I'd give a little teaching lesson in there. Have a great day. Enjoy the slot cars. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.